right. In his latest article, 3 major quality management gaps and how to fill them, LNS Research President Matt Littlefield states that there is a gap in the ability of many organizations to effectively deliver quality products and processes. LNS Research has done a lot of research into these quality management gaps during the past several years and determined that what is needed is what they call closed-loop quality processes. What is a closed-loop quality process? What are these gaps that we're talking about? Well, here to tell us is Mehul Shah, Senior Associate at LNS Research. Hi, Mehul.
Hey, Dirk. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. So before we get going, why don't you tell us what you mean by a closed-loop quality process? Define that for us.
Definitely. So, Dirk, first of all, I'm excited to be part of the live event. When you talk about closed loop and when you talk about quality, people generally think, if you think about a quality of product, it's quality within a manufacturing process. But it's definitely more than that. And for that, you have to look at what your product life cycle is. You start your product in the research and development engineering department where you develop your product, come up with ideas, and there are quality processes within the R&D design department. After that, you look at sourcing your parts from your suppliers and making sure that you're getting the components within the manufacturing floor from your supplier base, and depending on what industry you're in. Right? If you're in automotive, there are multi-tiered supplier base, and you have to manage quality across that supplier base. And then you talk about manufacturing. So that's where you have all your components and you manufacture a product. And I think a lot has been written about managing quality within manufacturing. Once the product goes out of the manufacturing, it goes in the hands of your customers, you're talking about issues like customer service, warranty, issues in the field, and there are quality issues around that. What we mean by closed loop is if you're really looking to be the highest quality product in the marketplace, you can't just manage quality in one area of this value chain. You need to have process and visibility to manage quality across all of these different value stages to make sure that you are putting the best product out in the marketplace. And I think the final part is once your product is out, that's not when your responsibility ends for quality. Because you're going to get complaints, you're going to get feedback from your customers. How are you able to accept and use all of the feedback and comments back to your engineering or manufacturing team to continuously improve your product? So that's what we mean by the entire loop of closed loop quality management processes.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the gaps. I mean, in his article, Matt, he lists 3 gaps in the quality management system. I think there was people and leadership, technology, business processes. But let's talk about the first one just briefly here. He talks about being able to measure the gaps, right? And then you need to do something about it. So in people and leadership, how do you even measure a gap in people and leadership? And how does a closed loop quality management process even address that?
So I think that's a very good question, Dirk. When it comes to leadership and qualities like this, it's all tangible. And whenever things are tangible, it's really difficult to measure. I think what we see is if you're looking to manage quality from a closed loop perspective, one is it has to come directly from the leadership. We work with a lot of companies as part of our executive council. We generally see corporate quality team or a VP of global quality or some very senior level position who probably reports up to probably 1 or 2 level down to the CEO. So we see organizations that has a commitment towards quality and that has a very senior executive that has visibility and control over the operations entire value chain and who looks into quality is one of the key areas. I think when it comes to measurement, I think those are the common measurements that we see. If you're able to have collaboration between each of these departments, if you are able to have leadership capabilities for folks who are managing your engineering, manufacturing, service, and have the context of quality around it. I mean, the measure you will see is better quality products, less supplier issues, higher overall equipment effectiveness within your manufacturing floor. All of those key criteria that a lot of organizations measure, you will directly see an impact on those issues.
Mehul, how about the next one of these gaps that Matt talked about in his piece, the idea of business processes? What are the major gaps that you see there?
So I think the whole aspect of business process is important, right? I mean, when we talk about business process in the context of quality, we see a variety of this business process. I talked about suppliers there. I think there are a lot of issues when it comes to suppliers. One is if you have a tiered supplier base, now you're not only liable for the quality that your suppliers provide you, but also your supplier provide you. So how do you make sure that you have a process that's streamlined to manage your quality across your entire supplier base? And just imagine if you're a global organization, not only just in North America, you have plants in Europe and you have plants in Asia, and they all have their suppliers. How do you manage that long of a supplier base in a way that you are able to effectively manage quality across the value chain? Similarly, if you take another process like CAPA, it's a very, very common process, corrective and preventive action. Companies have CAPA at the plant level, companies have CAPA at the enterprise level. All of those, most of the time these processes are disjointed depending on how mature your organization is. How do you make sure there's a standardized process for managing CAPA across your enterprise so that people know what they are doing and people know how to do it, and executives have clear visibility of all of these processes that will eventually lead to better quality products.
Okay, and finally, Mehul, let's talk a little bit about technology gaps, because we actually have a webinar coming up here pretty soon, and I believe one of the things it's going to talk about is basically how technology, software in particular, addresses kind of all of these gaps, and particularly technology. So why don't you talk about that a little bit, technology and how it addresses these issues?
I think that's again a good question, Dirk. One of the things that we saw, we surveyed over more than 900 organizations globally, mostly on their quality organization, and that's something that we're going to talk about as part of the webcast. We saw that 78% of that 900 plus organization, they say that they have disjointed and disconnected quality process. And for those companies, one of the ways, I think there are many ways you can address this, but one of the ways that you can address this is the implementation of right set of tools, technology, software, so that you can enable that visibility across the value chain. One of the things we talked about, we'll talk about in the webcast, as well, you'll see a lot in our research is the term enterprise quality management software. And again, it's not by no means a new term. It's basically a platform which provides you the ability to manage quality in a closed-loop fashion and manage quality holistically across the organization. Normally, what we see is when companies are adopting software, they'll have an immediate pain. They want to manage their audit process, they want to automate that, and they'll implement an audit management system. Or they're going to manage a CAPA issue, and they have that pain point, and they'll implement a CAPA process or CAPA software. But what we're seeing is mature companies that are able to drive closed-loop quality management, are investing in EQMS platform, enterprise quality management platform, so that you're not working with multiple spreadsheets, multiple systems, disparate data sources. You have one single platform. We all talk about a single version of truth. That will enable you to manage all of these different quality processes, which eventually will help you build that closed-loop quality management strategies and processes within your organization.
Right, right.
Well, great. Well, Mehul, thanks again for joining us today. We're out of time, but for all of you out there who want to learn more about this, Dirk, you referenced it. We do have a webinar coming up on Tuesday. Dirk and Mehul will be co-presenting that. Actually, Mehul's presenting. Dirk is just hosting, as he normally does. That is next Tuesday, the 17th. It's going to be at our normal time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And there is a link out in Matt's article right. to that. Also, keep an eye on your email. Dirk, take it away.
Oh, sorry. So Mike is Mike, Frog once again calls him Mike. So yeah, you'll be getting an email if you haven't already to sign up for this webinar. Be sure you do it. It's on the, what did we say, the 17th?
17th
at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So sign up for that if you want to learn more about EQMS software and how that can close the gaps in your quality management system.
So Mehul, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dirk.
Okay.
See you then. Thanks. Bye-bye. Good stuff. Thanks, Dirk. I know you're looking forward to that one. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it'll be fun.